Welcome, everybody. Today's session is about best practices to use Microsoft 365 for crisis communication requirements. My name is Martina Grom. I'm a Microsoft 365 MVP, a regional director, and CIO of At Work, and I'm happy to be here on USS Enterprise. So today's session is about what I've learned in the last 8 to 12 weeks. And I want to share some of my experience I had with my customers and what we built. One of the main things we learned in that crisis was that digitalization can actually happen. We faced a situation where people went into working from home in a very fast time. We need to enable that. We need also, on the other side, secure them that they can work in a secure environment and still feel safe. Also, for the future, working from home might not be an exception any longer, so it might become the new normal. And also, what we learned here is that organizations need to communicate with each other. Management needs to communicate, team leaders need to communicate, employees need to communicate with each other, and so on. So communication is king, especially in a situation where people work from home, looking in the screen for the whole day, and need social interaction as well. And thanks to our technology now, we are able to do that. Also, one of the things I want to mention here, please think about developing a cyber resilience plan. As many of you know, I work a lot in security and compliance and governance, and I'm developing cyber resilience plans with my customers. And the cyber resilience plan is something you have in place for a crisis. So something could happen, your network is not available, you need to communicate, and so on. All of that is in a cyber resilience plan that you stay in your business and you keep working even if a crisis happens. Please stay safe and healthy. And one of the main things I want to give you a tip is keep up a routine for working. And that just means make it a habit, go for a walk every day, go out, make a lunch break, and so on. So to keep a routine for you is also fundamental to keep a good working condition, even if you work at home or somewhere else. So what we will do today is we will talk about what were the key scenarios I worked through. One of the things was external access. Then we'll go into SharePoint and Yammer, how SharePoint and Yammer can help you in a crisis management side and with org-wide communication. And then I will introduce you some of the tools we used to communicate on a broader level, and also what helped us to scale, because we are a small team. We need to support a lot of customers. Our customers have small teams as well. And we just wanted to have a fast way to onboard users, to have a good communication with them, and to help them. And the last point is still governance and security, how it works with after the fact governance, and also how we can keep trust. So first of all, we talk about external access. External access is fundamental. So if you haven't done a network assessment yet for optimizing your traffic into Microsoft 365, this is the time. Please do that. We do that with all of our customers. When we start a deployment project, we look at their network, we look at how fast they connect to Microsoft 365 services, how we can optimize that, and so on. Also, what we heard a lot is Microsoft 365 is so slow. Even when I work from home, what can I do and how can I make it faster? So what we saw here is some organizations still have a VPN connection in place. So they onboarded their users, and the user has to connect through a VPN to the organization. And from the organization, he has an breakout to Microsoft 365. There are technologies in place and configurations in place like split VPN, and that means you still have your VPN connection in place. But for connection to Microsoft 365 services, you go directly from your local internet connection. And that just saves you time and make the experience from a user perspective much faster and much better. Also, what we look here is, are you able to communicate with persons even if your network is not available, and even if Microsoft 365 is not available? Do you have a second plan? Is there any website, a status information website, where you can post urgent information or anything else? So think about that. Don't make yourself dependent on only one service. Think about more services. Put a status message on an external website, which you can update on any site, and so on. So think about that as well. And also, you need to make sure that your executives are able to communicate on an org-wide level. And how you can do that? Is it through online conferences? Is it a phone line? Whatever, but you have to make that sure to have that communication in place. SharePoint and Yammer. SharePoint and Yammer will help us to build a crisis communication site. And I love that because have you ever looked at the SharePoint lookbook? The SharePoint team created beautiful designs you can just use in your tenant and do that. In the current situation, we faced a lot of questions from customers where they said, I need to have a website where I have all the information during the crisis in a very fast and efficient and beauty way. And if you look into an out-of-the-box scenario, you can go with the SharePoint lookbook and the crisis communication site and build everything from there, because the design is already there and you just need to focus on the content, which is essential if you need to scale and have to put in content first. So let me give you a short demo for that. As you can see, the SharePoint lookbook, you can find it on the lookbookmicrosoft.com. And what you can do from here is go into the examples, and here you see various examples of designs you can use out of the box. It is published through SharePoint PnP. And if we look at that and we go into the crisis communication site, you see here a quick overview how the site will look like, and also what site features are used in there. And then you can simply add that to your tenant, which is quite nice because you can publish it in a site collection of your choice and in all direction of your choice, and you can simply use it from there. I already did that to save us some time. And here you see the crisis management site. And what I love about that, there's so much content already in here and a lot of ideas. You probably haven't thought about that. And you can use that crisis management site not only for situation where which we have now for COVID-19. A crisis communication site is in every situation a very good idea to have it in here. So you see here travel safety. So will people need to travel? Is business related travel, and so on, and also personal safety. You can also look here. What is essential is, and one of the main questions I got in the past is, how can I communicate and what is my emergency response team? How can I find the list of those people? You also have other updates like information from external sites, like latest from CDC, latest from the World Health Organization, and so on. And you can also include your Yammer feed here. So you see here, you have a lot of information which is collected and which you can publish very fast. So within a day, you can bring up the whole content and people get access to that. The other point here is, consider that people can connect to there, they log into the site and they find the information they need and they have in times where they need more information, which is probably not prepared yet. Another challenge some of my organization faced, they said, Martina, we are already onboarded on Microsoft Teams, but now we have the challenge that we need to communicate with all of our team members at once. So we need some kind of communication tool, and we didn't want to send an email to every single employee in the organization. How can we do that? And how can we keep the conversation running? And Yammer is the perfect tool to enable org-wide communication. That's one point. The other point is Yammer gives every single executive in your organization a platform to communicate. And believe me, this is incredible. One of my customers, the CIO, made daily meetings with a short video where he described the current situation, what they are doing, what are the next steps, and so on. So this is also something which is essential in times of a crisis where people have anxiety, they are looking for information, they need more information in place, and so on. And also consider that Yammer drives community communication, so you just need to work all day. You also need some kind of social communication. So like what you have done before when you still worked in the office, it's like a coffee drink together or some other social stuff like a happy hour or a water cooler conversation and so on. And also one of the main tips since the end of May, we have the new Yammer in place, and please enable the new Yammer look and feel because it looks beautiful and people really like that. So let's have a look. So this is how the new Yammer looks like, and how can you enable the preview if you haven't seen that yet? It's just in your network settings. And if you are a network admin, a Yammer network admin, you get the new Yammer preview functionality in here, and you can stay in classic Yammer, enable Yammer as a preview where you get a nice toggle and your users can just choose to move back and forth. And then you can enable the new Yammer preview as a default. As you have seen in my network, I'm in the opt-in scenario, which gives me here on the right upper corner a nice toggle where I can move back and forth. But well, what else is really nice here? You can create your own communities. And you see in that communities, you can still change profile pictures and so on, but you also see it's very nice looking, it works very fast and so on. And also one of the main points here, you can integrate the new Yammer to your team, for instance. So if your organization is using Microsoft Teams for a very long time and for their team members and sections and organizations, you can also integrate Yammer into them. How does it look like? I already have Teams opened here, and you see that these are all the teams I'm in there. But what else do I have here on the left side? I have my Yammer communities pinned here. And if I click there, I can simply switch back and forth within the Teams client and can look at what is going on in my organization. And this is really awesome because you get the notifications, you can look at that, you do not need to move back and forth between your browser, the Teams client and Outlook, you just click it from there. If you haven't pinned Yammer here, it's quite easy to do so. Click on the three dots, go into more apps, look for communities. Look for communities, and here you have it. And with that, you can simply add it to your Teams client. The other option would be if you're an admin and you want to have Yammer pinned here for every single employee in your tenant, simply open up the Microsoft Teams Admin Center and go there. And here, you can go to the Teams apps, setup policies, and can add a new policy, or you just go in here, and here you can add your Yammer app if you want that. So add an app, look for the community, and here you see community, then you can add the app to that, and you can also say, okay, where do I want that? So for instance, I want it right after Teams and before my calendar is there, and if you save that, every single Teams application, which the policy applies to, will get Yammer in their Teams client as well. We have a lot of benefits if we include SharePoint crisis communication site and also Yammer into our communication scenarios. But what else? It's not only that. One of the things we also did with our customers where we enabled team live events because we needed to communicate, we need to onboard users and so on. And also we implemented the health bot. And I want to show you that. So why is a team live event so beneficial? So consider that you have to onboard a lot of users. They do not go through trainings. You do not have time for onboarding sessions and stuff like that. But you still want to reduce the amount of tickets people create because they don't know how to use Teams. So what you can do here, you can create a team live event, and the benefit here is it reaches the whole organization. So you just need to invite the people to the live event and you can talk with them. They can ask questions and so on. So also what we learned here is we created kind of office hours, and the office hour is something which happens every week, for instance. So every Wednesday at 8 a.m. we have 1 hour where we have everything you need to know about Microsoft 365. In the beginning, it was just Teams onboarding, how can I do that, and so on. And after a couple of weeks, we moved into, have you seen to do you need to use Planner, and so on, to get people trained in a very fast way. With the help of champions, you can also bring more people into those live events. And the fun thing, what happened to our live events is that executives also looked at that and they said, that's a good idea. I want to create my own live event to communicate with my team, to communicate with the whole organization. And then you move on from that. So use it as a communication platform. And also essential is if you start using Teams live event, please try it up front. It's an easy to use tool, but it needs some practice how to handle that. And also one of the best practices I wanted to share in the beginning, always use a single producer, make some person a presenter, and use a moderator who monitors Q&As during the live event so that the presenter can fully concentrate on his session and do it. Also, make it short and interactive. So one of the tips we had were we went into 20 minutes presentation, and after 20 minutes, we just went into Q&A and gave people the opportunity to ask questions, to get them answered, to make more demos, and so on. So how can you create your own live events? To create your own live event, you can go into your Teams client, go on the right to new meeting and live event. Here you can write up your title and the time and the description. And also here you invite your presenters. So I'm going with Adele. And I have a second moderator, it's Christy. So I have here my people there, and then you have 3 options. You can create a live event only for a selected amount of persons, or you create it org-wide. Org-wide is always a good choice because only people within your tenant can attend the live event. Or if you want to make it public, you can also create it as a public event where people can join anonymous and ask questions and so on. Also, below there, you have to turn on Q&As. And Q&As makes a dedicated Q&A section for attendees where they can ask questions and so on. So, and then you can schedule that. And what you see here with the scheduling, you get 2 different links. You get an attendee link, which you can send out via newsletter, publish on a communication site or anything else. And also you have here a live event join link for the presenters and the producers. Also, one last tip here, only make one person a producer and practice that up front so that people can just use and get some practice around the live event. A second option would be you can go with a live event directly through Yammer. So if you go there and we are in our community, Galactic Summit, we can also create a live event from there. And you see kind of the same happens here. So we are having a SharePoint after the conference. We can say Adele is our presenter, producer is Martina, and next. And here you see you have two more options here. You can still go with the Teams option, which I showed you before, or you can go with an external app or device. That might be the case if you have a town hall meeting where you need more than 1 or 2 cameras, where you can have more cameras to create kind of a studio experience. So you can do it from both sides. And the nice thing is every person who attends the live event can directly watch it out of the Yammer community. Back to the slides. And the second option we had here is the Microsoft Health Bot. Why is that a good tip? Is we had the situation where a customer asks you, okay, our support team is overwhelmed by tickets. They can't answer everything. We have a lot of questions regarding how do I manage my health, what happens if I feel sick or anything else. And the Microsoft Health Bot is an out-of-the-box tool you can use out of scratch. You simply have to add it. And the nice thing why I like it, you have a built-in functionality of a handover functionality to an agent. That means if the bot is out of answers and he can't answer there, you can hand over it to an agent. And that reduces the burden on a lot of tickets, a lot of communication and so on, and it scales very nicely. You can also add your own templates, like if you have a Q&A, you can simply add that to the bot and have that scenario in there. And you can integrate it everywhere. You can integrate it in your Teams client, you can integrate it on your SharePoint site and so on. So this is really nice to do and to have the health bot service in there. So how does it look like? So first of all, I want to add the health bot to my service. For that, you need an Azure subscription, and you can look here for software as a service. And here you can add predefined solutions in there. And you see we already have the health bot here. If you don't see it here, you can look for it, go into the Microsoft Healthcare Bot and add it from there. As soon as it is added, you have the health bot service in place, and I already have that. And what I like here is you have different scenarios. I will come back to that later. And you can also go into a template catalog. And what I like about that, because it's SaaS, you get new templates from time to time. So you see we had some new templates added last week or in the last 2 weeks, and you can just add those templates where you see how can I do that, add bookings and so on. Also, what I like in here is it's multi-language. So you can go in here and add localization. So if you're working in the multi-language scenario, you can add other languages like German, Spanish, whatever, to have the bot speak to you in the language you prefer. Also, if you go into the configuration, what you see in here, you see here the interactions. So for instance, you can say, okay, what are my global defaults? What is the bot doing? How is he speaking to me? And so on. So you see, you can really start with a welcome scenario where you say, okay, how are you? What is in here? How can I help? And so on. So you have a lot of functionality. And you can simply try it out. So if I have here my health bot, you see he comes with a text here, and I'll say, hello, I have fever. Then he jumps into a scenario and says, okay, I have some symptoms. Do we have other relevant symptoms? So I can say, okay, sore throat, and you can chat with the bot in that manner, or you can also go simply very basic and type help. And what I also like here is you can cancel the current request, or you can set, okay, forget me. And that means if you see forget me, he will forget all of your data. And you see he will, oops, forget me, he will delete all the data you filled into the bot. So you see, this is a very nice scenario. And what I really like about that, you can add your own services to the bot. So if you have a support service running or a Q&A and so on, you simply can integrate it into the health bot. And for instance, you can turn off all other scenarios and can say, okay, I only want my bot to support the Martina scenario, which is my Q&A maker. So you see, it's really easy to do that. So back to the slides. Microsoft HealthBot, just try it out. The first entries are for free, and you can look if it's beneficial. It helped us a lot to add that and to have that functionality in place very fast. Last point here is governance and security. So what I wanted to point out is here, we have sent all of our users in working from home scenarios. The users still trust you. So you need to keep them secure and safe, because they know, okay, I'm working on a corporate machine. I need to stay secure, and so on. So probably you have to implement an after the fact governance and also security, and this is still possible. And also one thing is, please enable your user. Do not disable functionalities because you just don't want that. Because what we learned is here, the lesser the functionality the users have, the higher the probability is that they go into third-party services, and you have a lot of shadow IT scenarios in place. To make it secure from the users, please enable MFA. 98% of all security issues are related to leaked credentials. Consider that. Please enable MFA for all of your users. And also try to scale with live events, news, and champions. And do not forget, we are all in this together, and we learn together, and we will move forward and come out of that stronger with that together. Here are some links at the end where you can start with the things I just showed you, and hopefully you like the presentation, and hope to see you soon. If you have any questions, please ask, or look at my GitHub. I have some scenarios here for free, or also ask your questions on Twitter. Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of the Galactic Collaboration Summit. Join the community and meet in-person world-class Microsoft and MVP speakers this autumn in Wiesbaden, Frankfurt, Germany, with 15 full-day tutorials and over 150 Microsoft 365 and Azure sessions at the combined European Collaboration Summit and European Cloud Summit from 26 to 28 October 2020. Community rocks.